Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. We are live from the Association of Oregon Recyclers, and I have some very special guests today. Very excited to introduce all of you and tell your stories. But let's start with you first. We're going to go around the table here. And can you each introduce yourselves? Can you tell us how you got involved with AOR? And we'll start there.
Thank you, Cory. I'm Beth Vargas Duncan. I'm the regional director with Oregon Refuse and Recycling Association, which we call ORA. And we got involved with AOR because our members, which actually I should go back and say, I work mainly in the Portland metro area with the Portland Haulers Association, the Washington County Haulers Association, and the Clackamas County Refuse and Recycling Association, and many of the cities therein. So that's my focus, whereas ORA, our statewide association, represents haulers, which are the people that collect the materials, the garbage, the recycling, the organics, and then take it to their next destination. So that's what we do. And ORA, a number of our members were actually involved in the founding of AOR, and that's the Association of Oregon Recyclers.
Oh, wow.
And that is how our organization got involved. And so we're very enthusiastic about AOR and promoting AOR, and we have a lot of the same shared values. So we like to promote the recycling and our collection activities and making sure that the materials go to end markets that are responsible.
Excellent. Thank you so much for what you do. And sounds kind of like you're the parent company almost.
Something like that.
I love that.
Certainly a team, part of the team.
Laura?
Yeah, Beth, I did not know that. I just learned something new. I didn't know that ORA was in on the founding of the Association of Oregon Recyclers. That's incredible. So I'm Laura Liebrick, and I am currently the governmental affairs manager for Rogue Waste, Inc. I've been working in the industry in Oregon, mostly on the hauling side of things for about 24 years.
Yeah.
I have been a member of AOR for 23 years, probably closer to 24 years. Yeah, my first job in the industry was as a recycling education coordinator for a small locally owned company on the north coast of Oregon. And I remember clearly my very first AOR conference. I want to say it was also David Alloway's first AOR conference. And we were on a panel together, and it was an education. There used to be two conferences a year. One was education specific and the other was a conference more like this one. But I have been a proud member of AOR, as have the organizations that I've worked for 2.5 decades.
Wonderful. This.
Hello, I'm Liz Starts, she, her pronouns. And I'm with Start Consulting Group. I'm the founder there. I've been consulting about almost 2 years. So I got involved with AOR shortly after I moved to Oregon. I was involved with the Illinois State Recycling Association from there. And so coming to Oregon, just kind of feeling like, okay, here are my recycling people, and so happy to have AOR as part of my community of work. And just what a great organization. I've been able to spend time on the board and now consulting with AOR on their equity and inclusion work.
Really enjoyed your presentation yesterday.
Thank you
again. And congratulations on your award. You introduce yourself.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, I'm so excited to be here with such incredible women. Thank you so much for hosting us. I'm Laura Kuttner-Tokarski, and I'm the director of Trash for Peace. And just a fun anecdote. I actually met Liz, one of our very first events, right after Trash for Peace was started in, I want to say 2012, 2013.
yeah.
So I have been so lucky to have known Liz for so long. And gosh, I want to say that I first got connected to AOR through our partnership with the city of Gresham. We were and still are providing after school programs, activities focused on hands-on sustainability education at one of the multifamily housing sites. And we partner with City of Gresham to distribute and hand out information about recycling. And Shauna Sutcliffe, who at the time was working in multifamily outreach, said, you should come to this awesome conference and learn more about the industry, make connections. And at the time, I was not aware, and came to the first conference, or that conference, which, goodness, was quite a few years ago. This was before children. So, but of course, with COVID, I feel like dates have just flown out of my mind. But this was a few years ago, probably 7 years ago, and then became a member shortly after that.
Excellent. Well, this is very exciting. And we all met last week virtually, which was really fun. And there was a common theme of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how things have changed mostly for the better, is what I'm hearing in this industry, which is exciting. But I would love for each of you to kind of speak a little bit towards your experience or towards something positive, whatever you're comfortable with sharing.
Sure. So thank you, Cory. I'll go first again. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a foundation here on recycling. Then I'll get into our diversity, equity, and inclusion, which DEI or
Yeah.
EDI, whichever way, I'll just say DEI. But I think it's important to note that back in 2018, we went through the whole recycling markets, got a big disruption with the China National Sword event. And China used to take up about half of the global demand for many of our recycled commodities during that time. And while Oregon was severely affected, as the whole world had an impact on this, Oregon's strong system of franchise to collectors, haulers, and our close relationships with those that regulate us, the cities and the counties. It's a highly regulated system in Oregon. But that franchise system really enabled us to be very resilient and absorb that. There are other places in the country right now that still have not fully recovered or have been able to offer the recycling services that we do here in Oregon. So I just want to also kind of add that as a piece of our culture of who we are and how we operate here in Oregon. So moving on to the DEI. So because of this close relationship and the regulatory relationship we have with our cities and counties, the Portland haulers specifically were engaged about 5 years ago with the City of Portland staff about how to expand and advance our diversity, equity, and inclusion activities.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, we really rolled up our sleeves and brainstormed and came up with some ideas that would be a win-win. And so one of them was that we would look at services in the city where we could bring in some new entrants or get folks that needed more experience to. This is a big industry when you look at what a garbage recycling and company involves. It's a lot. So the City of Portland had public can contracts, and we opened those specifically, moved it away from our members that would bid on those and opened them just to BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and women-owned businesses. And that is going well right now. We do have, I was just talking to City of Roses that has that contract or a contract with the city on that. So that's going really well right now.
Wonderful.
The other thing that we did was we retained diversity consultant John L. Bell with Espousal Strategies. So he's been with us about 3 years or so now and helped our members do survey work so we could find out who in our workforce, our diversity there, develop DEI action plans, and also do our regular ongoing equity training. And then I'm proud to say we just got an award for our Driving Diversity in Portland program from the Association of Oregon Recyclers. So thank you.
Two
That's
award
very
winners
nice.
here. Congratulations. I love it.
And that program was developed almost entirely during lockdown. So John L. Bell had the idea working with us saying, sounds like you need more drivers, and why not, embrace diversity as you do this? And so he introduced me to Patrick Euring with Work Systems, and we started talking around the beginning of 2020. And then about a year later, we rolled out with our other nonprofit partners, Interstate Trucking, who we developed a curriculum that's focused on our industry, and they help eligible folks get their CDLs. Southeast Works, another nonprofit, helps recruit and identify eligible candidates for this. They get wraparound support services now. City of Portland put in funding for this. And so it's been really, really a great program. We've had about 58 graduates and over half have been hired. There's 8 candidates in our current cohort, which we aim for a little bit more. This one's a little bit low. We've been having about 12. So over 2/3 of our participants have identify as Black and nearly 2/3 are female. So it's a really exciting story to
Big
tell.
progress.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That's impressive. Really impressive. So I'm going to pick up on the last point that Beth made about the Driving Diversity program.
Yeah.
One of the things that struck me when I first came into this industry 25 years ago was how few women there were, in particular on the operations side.
Right.
I've been thrilled, like to the point of goosebumps and excited to see the number of women that are going through the driving diversity program. And I'm looking around the table here, and I don't know if I can say the word that I want to say, but you said it yesterday, badass women. Seriously, it's incredible. There have been, the company that I work for now, Rogue Waste, one of the things that really impressed me when I went to work there that is very different than it was when I first came into the industry is half of the executive team are women. It's
Amazing.
remarkable. Still a long way to go. But thanks to programs like Beth was talking about, I truly believe that if you can present young women from all kinds of backgrounds if you can expose them to the kinds of things that are possible in our industry, all kinds of doors are going to open for them. I had my start primarily in operations. I started in recycling, education, and outreach, but very quickly moved over to operations, designing recycling routes, became an operations manager, oversaw 2 transfer stations, collection operations, literally was working in the trenches. And it was the most gratifying work I've done in my life, learning from the ground up, from the can up, how this works. And so it's pretty thrilling to see these kinds of successes and to see these kind of women that are sitting around me doing the kind of work they do that is so fundamentally important in our industry. There's a lot going on right now in EDI work. I'm very proud to be an AOR board member and be working with Liz on EDI, really kind of moving the ball forward with AOR as an organization. Probably best exposure I've gotten to my training has been through AOR. That's the first place I was exposed to, formalized kind of group talk about these kinds of issues. Really
Incredible
important stuff.
presentation yesterday from.
Oh yeah.
Liz, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. So those are the things that come to mind for me. Other things in our industry that are happening, a lot of access, equity and access are big issues for us. We want to make sure that we are providing equal services to all citizens, to everyone. And it can be challenging sometimes. The big push for us over the last number of years, and we really hit it hard after National Sword hit, when we had to revamp our recycling system, but making sure that we're providing services to, in particular, multifamily, multi-tenant housing, which has its own challenges, but we're dedicated to finding solutions that work, even if that has to happen on a case-by-case basis, which it often does. So those are a couple of things that I can think of, elevating women in our industry. I think we've done a great job. We've got a long way to go, but we're doing well. And then providing equal access to services is really a big focus for us.
Thank you so much. That multifamily thing seems to be the topic I keep hearing over. Other than DEI is multifamily, and how do we service this community that's underserved?
Yeah. And, it may not stand out as an underserved community when you live in an area like Portland, but other underserved communities in Oregon are the distant rural communities.
Yeah.
And we in Southern Oregon, I think, do a really good job of reaching out into those communities. We used to provide depots. And when those no longer worked, we started providing service, so literally curbside service into rural areas. And it's expensive to do, but it was a decision that we felt needed to be made at the time that we made it. So, when you talk about underserved communities, sometimes it's literally geographic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's a challenge. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll take or build off of what you said and talk about multifamily a little bit, just because it's so tied into our work, especially, I accidentally came into the recycling and waste field. I went to college to be a Baptist missionary and totally diverted from that, but I just really just so love this industry. But, when I got my start 20 years ago, not only was I the only BIPOC person in the room, I was often the only woman in the room. And so, for me, just having to figure out, how do I navigate this space and be safe? And there's so many times where I wasn't, or I would just, say something and then just act like I wasn't there. Nobody was talking, just to defer to the white men in the room. And I think we've got to acknowledge that in order to figure out how we come forward. Now, I think all these years later, seeing the number of badass women, doing this work and in leadership roles is so important. But we need more BIPOC folks who are out there doing great work, but they're not, brought into the space. They're not promoted. And we've got to focus on that. But then too, there's that industry side of things where we have to focus on equity and inclusion, and that workforce side, but also that service side, too. And I think so often it's easy for local governments to say, oh, here I have this solution. we're going to put it on you, you know? And so to multifamily, which is a huge issue, which I'm sure Laura will definitely build upon in a wonderful way. But, you know, it's like, I hear these presentations and I come to conferences where everybody has like, every year a different local government has this solution to multifamily. And all it is, look, we put a clear front on the front of this bag, and that's how we can solve all the multifamily recycling issues. And it's all these systemic things that we're not using systems-based solutions.
Right.
And so where that, you know, is, you know, we've got to look at service equity, you know, too, and how in Oregon, we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to recycle act. But that is so meant for almost just single family homes, not folks who are living in multifamily or other dwellings or who don't have homes.
Right.
They just don't have access to the services. And, you know, we know that, you know, solid waste for sure and garbage, that's a sanitation issue. And I think, you know, we're so fortunate to have systems and haulers that do that service and that also provide recycling to keep that material out of the system. But, you know, how are we stepping up to really make sure that we're meeting the needs of folks and not just trying to put the single family solutions onto multifamily
Right.
as well, which is a huge issue. And then, you know, too, and the work that Laura's doing with bulky waste is just, you know, we look at that and, you know, and that's the thing, you know, too, in addition to equity and inclusion, I also love to talk about reuse, repair, and share. You know, we're focusing on calling it bulky waste, or, you know, and we're saying, and we're prioritizing waste when we have such an opportunity to reuse these items. People are in need of household items and we're just throwing it away. And that's our first option. So we've got to change that dynamic and look at how we're putting useful items in the hands of people who need it, and not in the landfill.
Right. Well said. And like Laura said, maybe it's a case by case basis for now, but eventually we'll figure out, hey, this works for a lot of people. Let's do this more. So well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's so much of what Liz just said.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Yeah.
No,
Ditto.
no, I'm just gonna build off of that. It was, well, so ditto to start. You know, I think that when I think of diversity, equity, and inclusion in this industry, I think that a lot has changed. Even in the 10 years that I've been in this industry, I see a lot more opportunity. But I also still see a need, especially looking at a systems view, that there's so much pressure that needs to continue to be placed. And I'll come back to that. I think that, you know, with our work, we really strive to lead by working with community members and listening to their interests and needs and figuring out how together we can address those needs and meet those needs and address their interests. And when we first got started working with youth on multifamily housing sites, we would have community nights, because when you were working with youth, you also are working with their families, and you would want to get to know the communities and get to, you know, build relationships, because everything we do is based on building trust and relationships. And over again, we would hear, you know, completely unprompted, I'm just so frustrated with my trash and recycling system. It is always overflowing and I'm so confused about it. And I want to learn more. I want to learn how to recycle. And I don't want to have all these issues. And, you know, what can we do? What can we do over and over again? And when we really started to dig into it, we would see, wow, this one property has one enclosure area for 200 units. And for some people, it is a third of a mile walk to get there. So I complain about taking out my trash and recycling, and it is around the corner out my door. And if you have any sort of disability or accessibility issues, it's impossible. And then if you leave trash on your porch, then you get dinged for it. And that's not even getting to the bulky waste. So, you know, there's definitely issues, and our focus is multifamily, because again, we hear so many concerns, and when we hear these concerns over and over again, we think, okay, well, we need to address them. We need to address them collaboratively. And there's opportunity. So we really have been wanting to create opportunities for community members to have a seat at the table so they can share their stories and be involved in that process, because they see the system, they see what works and doesn't work,
Right.
and they need to be involved, really ideally from the architecture design all the way through policy to implementation and construction. Because I also see a lot of issues with the design of these buildings. The trash and recycling area is the last thing that they consider. And then it causes a lot of issues that then affects the entire well-being of the property. Because if you have overflowing trash, it affects the beautification of the property and affects the well-being and the public health of the property.
Right.
So, you know, I'll emphasize that, but I think also we have had more opportunities to connect key members that we work with to policy and to decision-making. But, you know, just this morning at the discussing the Modernizing Recycling Act, when equity came up, it was like, well, the producer responsibility organizations are going to be responsible for managing that. That to me is a concern.
Yeah.
And that to me is an opportunity. We have a huge opportunity here for government, nonprofit, business to work together to pressure PROs
Yes.
to look at this inclusively.
Yes.
Because if we have a system, and I'll take electronics as an example, it works really well, but you still have to drop off the items.
Yeah.
If you live in an apartment and you don't have a car and you want to get rid of a flat screen TV,
Good
you're
luck.
going to take it on the bus.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to work.
Right.
And how then are you going to get rid of it? So we have to look at all of these systems. And here's a huge opportunity. We have to collectively, and that's where I think there's opportunity here at these conferences to say, okay, here's an opportunity. Here's where, all right, we're saying that we're including equity and there's more opportunity, but are we really? Because these PROs are going to be very powerful and they need to have regular, consistent pressure to include equity and be transparent about it. And so I think that that's where, I really want us to just keep examining this and say, all right, we're going to hold you accountable. What mechanisms are in place to actually include equity through these PROs, as an example?
Really well said. It's an important time to take a look at it, maybe with concern, but also I like what you said, with opportunity in our brains. Okay, we have a fresh start here. We're doing something that's never been done before. Let's do it the best that it's ever been done, times 10, and make a difference and make it inclusive and make it easy and available.
And actually sustainable too.
Yes.
And you also, you can really divert, like Liz was saying, so much of these items and then redistribute them. And that's something that we're just starting to create with our partners like Frog and Toad and Junket and City of Roses. Let's collect these items, let's repair them, refurbish them, and then redistribute them to community members who may need them, which then also meets the goals of our region.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win-win. We just have to sometimes keep putting the pressure to make that happen.
That's excellent. Well, I have an exciting announcement to make. Each of these amazing people has an opportunity to be on the show in a future date by themselves, so we can delve deeper into these topics. Because I think what you're all doing is amazing and it's niche. And I want to explore them deeper because I think the people that listen to this podcast will be interested to know that these things are possible and that these things are available and they can learn from you. So I just want to put that out there. If you're interested, I'd love to have you each on separately later.
Love to.
And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And any last stories that you wanted to tell or anything else that you wanted to say?
You give me the mic. So thank you for the opportunity to do a future podcast. Now I have one under my belt, so jump in.
Let's go.
And Laura, I just wanted to add that the haulers that I work with, we have some opportunities with our local jurisdictions that regulate us. We keep communicating about the enclosures, that when designs are submitted to your jurisdiction, please contact us so we can talk about what will work. And not only that, but in Hillsborough, they started showing us plans as the city expands, because trucks are big, and it not only helps the garbage industry and recycling, also helps other emergency vehicles. So I just had to add that comment in there. And I neglected to add another partner that is working has provided funding with the Driving Diversity Program is the Portland Justice Fund. And then if you can indulge me, I just want to really quickly say the Portland Haulers. So I just want to mention Aero Sanitary Waste Connections, Elmer's Sanitary, Hybrid Garbage and Recycling, City Sanitary Service Waste Connections, Portland Disposal and Recycling, Republic Services, Sunset Garbage Collection, WM of Oregon, previously known as Waste Management, they are now WM, Wacker Sanitary and Walker Garbage Services. And people don't know, but a number of these, a majority are family owned.
Yes.
Others are large, which you probably recognize, national, international companies, and a number have women owners.
Yes.
So we're really proud of our members. And those are just the Portland ones. But since we were talking about driving diversity, I focused on those. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's an excellent point. this is not only a health related issue, but it's a safety issue.
Yes.
If you try to remove your 600-pound fish tank, was that you talking about that earlier?
That was quite the experience.
Yeah.
And there's no service available to help you. I mean, you could really hurt yourself or cause some major damage to a home. So this is what you're all doing is impressive, and thank you. So could we go around the room and say how we can each contact you?
Sure. The best way to contact me is at my email,
Yep.
Beth, BETH, as in victory, and D for Duncan at ORRA.net.
And you can reach me at LLeebrick, that's LEEBRICK, at roguedisposal.com. And if you want to see information on the kinds of services our company provides, they've got a great website available at roguedisposal.com.
You can find me on my website, startsustainability.com. Please find me on LinkedIn under Elizabeth C. Start. And then two, if you are a person of color who works in this industry, we have an informal group that started on LinkedIn called Recyclers of Color. And I invite you to connect there. We just would love to kind of really build an affinity group of folks who are doing this work and just really create a safe space for folks of color. Just to be able to, build a community and, really continue to build each other up in this work and help each other out as much as we can.
Wonderful. That's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and folks can contact me at my email as well, Laura, LAURA at trashforpeace.org. And then also through our website at trashforpeace.org. And I'll just add really quick too that trash is something we all have in common. And when we're thinking about equity, we all have the right to have it be safely disposed of.
Right. It's an equity thing. Yeah, we all have the right. Well said. I love that. What a great way to end it. And I'd like to thank Landsberg Aurora for sponsoring this podcast. I'd like to also say, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We've got lots more great episodes coming. And thank you all for your time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so
Thank you
much.
for